All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the National Institute on Aging's Training and Career Development Programs team today for a webinar about 2 new R25 institutional opportunities designed to expand research on Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. Next slide, please. In a moment, I'll introduce our speakers who will provide an overview of the new programs. After the presentation, we'll open a moderated Q&A, so please feel free to submit your questions using the Q&A function in Zoom at any time during the webinar. When the Q&A ends, we'll hope that you share your feedback with us about this event by filling out a short survey. You'll find that link and many other helpful resources in the chat. Next slide, please. My name is Emily Krebs, and I'm a practice area leader in strategic communications at Palladium Partners. I'll be your moderator this afternoon, and it is my pleasure to introduce today's featured speakers. Dr. Maria Carranza is a program officer with the NIA Office of Strategic Extramural Programs. In her current role, she manages NIA's fellowship and career development programs. She also serves as the primary point of contact for policies, goals, and processes related to NIA training and career development funding opportunities. Dr. Jamie Lahvic is also a program officer with the NIA Office of Strategic Extramural Programs. In that role, she helps manage communication with NIA's emerging researchers about training and career development opportunities. She also supports new initiative development and program evaluation efforts. As one last reminder, please submit any questions you have during the presentation through the Q&A box. At the end of the presentation, Jamie and Maria will be joined by their colleagues from the Training and Career Development Programs team to answer your questions. Next slide, please. This webinar is for informational purposes only and does not replace the detailed instructions in the notices of funding opportunity for these 2 new R25 programs. We'll be dropping links to both of them into the chat momentarily. With that, I'm delighted to turn things over to Maria to begin the presentation. Maria?
Thank you, Emily. Today, we will be discussing the National Institute on Aging's 2 new R25 research education programs, which are designed to expand research opportunities in Alzheimer's disease and related dementias. Specifically, the NIA ERA Summer Research Education Program offers support for high school students, undergraduate students, and K-12 teachers. Likewise, the NIA ERA Post-Baccalaureate Research Program supports individuals who recently completed a bachelor's degree. For each opportunity, NIA intends to fund up to 5 awards per year, and the next due date is May 24th, 2023. Please note that no late applications will be accepted for either opportunity. A major goal of the national plan to address Alzheimer's disease and Alzheimer's disease-related dementias is to accelerate research toward treatments, improve care and support for people facing these conditions, and reducing the risks of AD/ADRD by promoting brain health. Despite this, there is a shortage of scientists conducting the wide variety of necessary, innovative, and interdisciplinary research on AD/ADRD. These new notices of funding opportunity will support the recruitment of early-stage investigators from diverse backgrounds, including those from groups underrepresented in the biomedical and behavioral sciences, and provide early hands-on exposure to high-quality research education experiences in the AD/ADRD field, thereby, which is another major barrier to increasing the ADRD-capable workforce. This graphic shows the NIA training and career development landscape. As seen here, NIA supports a variety of training and career development opportunities for students, early career investigators, and clinical researchers at the individual and institutional levels at every career stage. The new ERA R25 programs provide additional Alzheimer's disease research education opportunities for individuals at the K-12 level, as can be seen here, and individuals at the post-baccalaureate level, as can be seen here. Specifically, the NIA ERA Summer Research Opportunity will support 8 to 14-week summer AD/ADRD-focused research programs for undergraduates, high school students, or K-12 teachers. Likewise, the NIA ERA Postbaccalaureate Research Opportunity will support 1 to 2 year intensive AD/ADRD focused research experiences for recent graduates with an emphasis on mentoring on research careers. ERA programs aim to provide paid avenues for critical research training for their intended target audiences and increase the pipeline of students from diverse backgrounds, specifically in AD/ADRD research. Additional specific goals for each opportunity can be seen on this slide. Importantly, for either opportunity, applications that propose programs that are not AD/ADRD focused or that have a general STEM focus will be considered non-responsive and will be withdrawn prior to review. It is expected that the proposed summer research experience programs for high school students, undergraduates, or science teachers will provide authentic, open-ended, hands-on exposure to AD/ADRD research as it relates to aging as part of a comprehensive program designed to stimulate the interest and advance the knowledge base of the participants. In addition to hands-on research experiences, programs are expected to include complementary educational enrichment activities that support the participants' scientific development. Program goals and objectives should be grounded in the literature and appropriate for the educational level of the audience to be reached, including the content to be conveyed and the intended outcomes. Likewise, it is expected that the proposed post-baccalaureate research programs will involve participants for 1 to 2 years in intensive, independent research projects in AD/ADRD as it relates to aging. Participants are expected to work as research postbaccalaureates at 75% effort, with the other 25% effort devoted to further academic and professional development opportunities provided by the program. Academic development opportunities may include courses, seminars, or supplemental instruction that will enhance the professional skills of the participants. Training in rigor and reproducibility is required. Professional development opportunities may include entrance exam preparation and conference and workshop participation. Program training objectives and mentoring activities should be grounded in the literature and enable trainees to pursue advanced degrees and other research-related science career opportunities. The summer program will provide direct costs of up to $200,000 per year for up to 5 years. The postbaccalaureate program will provide direct costs up to $400,000 per year for up to 5 years. For both programs, personnel and participant costs, as well as program-related expenses and indirect costs up to 8% may be requested. Importantly, only U.S. institutions are eligible to apply for the ERA programs, and a variety of institutions, including minority-serving institutions, are encouraged to apply. Each institution must have a unique program structure that maximizes their resources, departments, and faculty. Applicants are encouraged to propose collaborations with affiliated and/or local institutions as appropriate. Applicants are also encouraged to partner with existing NIH-funded programs and resources and other federally funded resources and programs and leverage training activities from both federal and private sector partners, including but not limited to the Alzheimer's disease research centers and other organizations listed in this slide. The structure of the application is as shown on this slide, and we will go over specific details about each section in just a moment. The main body of the application will be in the research education plan, which is 25 pages long. Always make sure to follow NIH guidance on the page limits for each section of your application. The research education program plan, which is the main section of an R25 application, is up to 25 pages long. Specifically, the following subsections should be addressed in that 25-page narrative. First, the proposed research education program including the program rationale, mission, objectives, and overall research education plan. The professional development plan for the participants, as well as program oversight, participating faculty selection, and mentor training plan. Next is the program director or principal investigator, followed by the program faculty and mentors, as well as program participants, and the institutional environment and commitment to the proposed program. Next is the recruitment plan to enhance diversity, and for the post-baccalaureate opportunity only, the plan for instruction in methods for enhancing reproducibility. Then a plan for instruction in the responsible conduct of research, an evaluation plan, and a dissemination plan. And now I will turn things over to my colleague Jamie to cover additional details that are expected in each subsection of the research education program plan. Jamie?
Thank you very much, Maria. All right, so we're going to start by digging into that first section of the research education program plan. So this section is called the proposed research education program. And this section itself has 3 subsections. So initially, you'll need to write about the program's rationale, mission, objectives, and overall plan. So you're going to need a broad statement of purpose for the program you're designing, as well as specific objectives, which should be measurable outcomes that you intend to achieve and then report on in your progress reports. In this section, you want to talk about the strategies that you're using to select the participants in your program. And you're also going to want to give kind of the overall didactic philosophy for the training and professional development that you'll be giving, and describe the overall activities that participants will be participating in, both their research activities as well as any professional development activities. Next slide, please. The next subsection is going to focus on that professional development. And so here it will be rather different for the 2 programs. For the post-baccalaureate program, we expect that the participants are going to really be exposed to the variety of careers in the biomedical research workforce. So that's going to include both academic as well as non-academic careers. And that they learn the skills and knowledge needed to kind of take the next step in their careers and either continue on to graduate level instruction or to positions, research positions in the ADRD research workforce. In the summer program, you'll want to tailor the professional development opportunities to the participants that you're targeting. So for high school students, we want to really enhance their interest in college level STEM education and give them a general overview of the type of workforce that's available for ADRD researchers. For undergraduates, we'll want you to enhance their retention within STEM degrees and develop an enhanced interest in graduate level science education or post-college scientific careers related to ADRD. And then for K-12 science teachers, we want them to be able to develop hands-on scientific curriculum for their classrooms that is related to ADRD. Next slide, please. The next subsection of this proposed research education program is the program's oversight, faculty selection, and mentor training. So here you're describing kind of the bird's eye view of how you're going to run this program. And for both programs, you're going to need a strategy for oversight of the program and for ensuring that participants are progressing appropriately through the program. You're also going to need to provide training for your participating faculty in teaching, training, and mentoring practices that promote the development of participants from all backgrounds. And we expect this faculty training to be using evidence-informed approaches. You should also describe mechanisms that you have in place to monitor the mentoring. So monitoring how strong the match is between your faculty and your participant, and plans for addressing any unacceptable mentorship qualities up to and including removing faculty from the program when necessary. Next slide, please. All right, so the next major section of this 25-page document focuses on the program directors who are running the program. So these individuals should provide the overall administrative and scientific leadership to the program. We do encourage you to have more than one PDPI, though that's not required. At least one of your program directors should have an active research program in ADRD. And you might want to consider for your additional program directors to look for folks who have complementary expertise. This could be areas like science of education, mentoring expertise, DEIA experience, university administration, etc. So that's really to get both the scientific leadership as well as that administrative leadership of the program. And most importantly, your program directors need to have a demonstrated commitment to developing the next generation of our ADRD workforce, including leading recruitment efforts that are going to enhance the diversity of this workforce and foster an inclusive research environment. Next slide, please. All right, so once you've described the program directors leading the program, you'll then need to describe the program faculty who are going to be participating in the program and serving as the one-on-one mentors for your participants. So faculty mentors should have relevant research expertise and experience. In this case, that should be in ADRD. They also need to have enough time to commit to the program, a record of conducting strong science, which includes ethically sound and responsible research. As we mentioned before, they're going to need to receive training in mentoring and teaching practices, and they should show a commitment to mentoring the program participants in ways that create inclusive, safe, and just simply supportive research environments. We do encourage you to recruit program faculty who come from diverse backgrounds themselves, which would include groups that are underrepresented in the biomedical and behavioral sciences. Next slide, please. All right, then once you describe the faculty, you'll need to devote a section to talk about your program participants. In general, these participants should be US citizens or permanent residents. And we strongly encourage you to identify a broad range of candidates who are going to enhance DEIA in the biomedical research field as a whole, and specifically at your institution. In this section, you should be describing how you're going to select your participants. And importantly, you need to describe why the participants will benefit from your program. For the post-baccalaureate program in particular, we want you to describe why it's important for your participants to go through this program rather than, for instance, proceeding directly to graduate school or proceeding directly to a career in this area. So what additional preparation are they gaining that's really going to help them achieve those next career steps? Additionally, you're going to need a plan to oversee the program generally and make sure that participants are progressing through the program as expected. We do want to emphasize again that positive career outcomes for your participants are not limited to academia, not limited to continuing in college or graduate school, but also include the broader biomedical and AD related research workforce. Next slide, please. Then you should describe the overall institutional environment where this program will be taking place, which includes the commitment of your institution to this program. So you should be describing an institutional commitment to high standards of safety, scientific rigor, and responsible conduct of research. There should also be policies and procedures in place to protect participants from harassment. And we want to hear about how DEIA will be promoted at each level of the research environment, both within your program and more generally in your institution as a whole. And this is also where you have space to talk about the accessibility of your research facilities to participants with disabilities. Next slide, please. The next section is going to be a recruitment plan to enhance diversity. So NIH understands that in general, to build diverse training programs, you can't simply sit and wait for students to apply to your program. You need to have an active outreach strategy. So in this section, we want you to describe your outreach strategy and activities that are going to recruit participants from diverse backgrounds, including those who come from groups that are underrepresented in the biomedical sciences. These should include specific efforts that are going to be undertaken by this training program, but these efforts can coordinate and complement other ongoing recruitment efforts at your institution as a whole. We also expect that the faculty mentors who are participating in the program and who are benefiting by receiving new lab members are going to be involved in this recruitment effort. Next slide, please. Then you're going to also need to provide a couple of plans. For the post-baccalaureate program, you'll need to provide a plan for instruction in methods for enhancing reproducibility, describing how these students who are going to be doing an intensive independent research project are being trained in principles to enhance data quality and enhance overall research reproducibility. And there are many resources for how you can do this that come from the National Institute of General Medical Sciences. And for both the post-baccalaureate and the summer programs, you'll need to also include a plan for instruction in the responsible conduct of research. This is, of course, similar to the plans that are included in T32, as well as fellowship applications, and they should address the subject matters covered in the training, what faculty are involved, as well as the duration and frequency of instruction. Next slide, please. We also expect you to evaluate your programs in an ongoing way. So you'll need to provide an evaluation plan in your application, where you're going to describe what are the metrics that you plan to measure in order to determine whether your program is successful in achieving its goals. And here we want to know, is the program effective overall? And additionally, is it supporting an inclusive, safe, and supportive research climate for your participants? We expect that your evaluation plan will include some method to get feedback from the participants themselves so that they can suggest improvements to the program. And we expect you to be tracking participant career outcomes over time, emphasizing once again that we're interested in a broad range of career outcomes for your participants, which could include academic careers, but may also include non-academic tracks. I also want to remind you here that within your budget, you are allowed to budget up to $3,000 per year to support this evaluation plan. Next slide, please. Then you'll also need a dissemination plan. If you're creating useful documents like course curriculum, presentations to scientific meetings, professional development workshops for your participants, etc., we'd like the broader scientific and ADRD community to be able to benefit from these. So we'd ask you for a plan for how you would disseminate these types of materials. Next slide, please. So that wraps up the largest 25-page document. You'll want to provide a few additional attachments in your application as well. This is going to include letters of support from your institution. So any colleges or departments that are going to be supporting the program, we'd like to receive letters attesting to their commitment to the program. An optional attachment would be describing an advisory committee. So when you describe your oversight plan, if you like, you can have an advisory committee who's going to be doing that oversight. And if you do plan to do that, we want to hear a little bit about that committee, such as where would you be drawing the members of the committee from, how often would they meet, what kinds of oversight would they have, that type of thing. Though we are not asking you to provide specific names of members of the committee. Additionally, you're going to need to attach biosketches, and that will be for the program directors, but additionally for the participating program faculty. Next slide, please. All right, so those are all the major pieces of your application. Once you get that application into us before the due date at May 24th, 2023, that's going to go to an NIA special emphasis panel for review. So we're going to be pulling in reviewers who have specific expertise around training and training programs. We expect the review to be taking place this fall, and then funding decisions would be happening in spring 2024. The review criteria that are important for your application are the same major review criteria across all NIH applications. So that includes significance, investigators, innovation, approach, and environment. And so what does significance mean in this case? What we're asking there is how well or what kind of evidence have you provided that the proposed program is really going to provide participants from diverse backgrounds with the ability to move forward in their ADRD careers, including engaging in ADRD research and innovation generally, transitioning into advanced degree programs, or transitioning into research careers themselves. So in addition to those 5 criteria, each of which you'll receive a score on, there are additional review criteria. These 2 items, you won't receive a specific score for each of these items, but how well you do on these will impact your overall score for your application. And so that includes the recruitment plan to enhance diversity. So we really do believe that this is an important piece of your application, and so it will be built into your overall score. And then for the post-baccalaureate program as well, the plan for instruction in methods for enhancing reproducibility. So we do want to be producing effective scientists who are producing reproducible research. Next slide, please. So what to do next? We're going to be moving into the Q&A phase here, but also after this session, we want to emphasize again that you should read the full notice of funding opportunity for each of these items, and we have the links here, and I think they'll be dropped into the chat as well. You can also reach out to us. You can contact Maria and I at the NIA training email address if you have any questions about these opportunities. We do also encourage you to send us a specifics aims page there so we can give you feedback on that. And then the due date is, once again, May 24th, 2023. It's helpful for us if you know that you intend to apply to send a letter of intent a month before the due date. That, however, is optional. It's not required. Next slide, please. All right, and with that, we are going to open up the floor for questions.
All right, thank you, Jamie and Maria. We're going to begin our Q&A, so please continue using that Q&A function throughout this session as well. If you have any follow-up questions that come to you, we have a few that have come in over the course of the presentation that we'll start with, but please keep them coming. You can submit questions anonymously, but remember that we will not be able to follow up with you on anonymous inquiries after this event. So if you'd like to speak with any member of the NIA staff about your particular case, please feel free, as Jamie mentioned, to email niatraining@mail.nih.gov. All right. Could you perhaps expand a little bit on some circumstances in which non-US citizenship or permanent residency would be justified under one or both of these programs? I think we'll have Maria take that one.
Those are really intended to be exceptional cases. The main purpose of these programs would be to support US citizens or permanent residents. So each case will be treated on a case-by-case basis, and you would be encouraged to get in touch with your program official assigned to your award should this question arise.
Wonderful. Thank you, Maria. Jamie, what kind of non-academic training opportunities are encouraged for the post-baccalaureate students that would be allowed as part of biomedical entrepreneurship training?
What we really want to see here is that these post-bac students are sort of gaining a picture of the research landscape, right? And what kinds of jobs are out there. So for instance, what kinds of jobs do you need to go on and get a master's degree or a PhD in order to get that job? And what other kinds of positions is it possible to move into directly from this post-baccalaureate program, right? So we want to see that these students are getting a realistic picture of the job market and then are able to make informed decisions for themselves about whether they want to move into a master's program or a degree program. So I think especially, there's many different types of activities that I could imagine, but certainly panels about folks who are in different kinds of positions. And then depending on where your participants are moving, right, maybe some of them need preparation for graduate school applications, where others maybe need interview training and resume support in order to directly apply for jobs.
Great. I'm going to stick with you for one more and ask, are general aging programs allowed, or should it be focused only on AD and ADRD areas?
These programs need to be focused on AD, ADRD, and if you propose a more general aging program, that would be considered non-responsive, so you wouldn't even make it to the review stage.
Maria, can the programs be virtual?
If it is possible to justify virtual research experiences, then by all means, but it would have to be specific to your program, and a very strong justification should be provided. Like we said earlier, it is expected that individuals will receive hands-on research experiences on the specific topic in ADRD that the program is proposing.
Thank you. I'll stick with you for one more. Given the time constraint, is it okay if our letter of intent does not go into detail about our plans, but is more broad about the scope of what our plan will be?
Certainly, you can look up the guidelines for letters of intent from the NIH, and you will see that it's a very brief statement that basically just lets us know that you will be applying, which individuals, from what institution, and more or less the title of your application. But there is no need to go into details. So by all means, please submit that, to the best of your ability. And remember, it is optional as well. It's not required to get your application in.
Right. So letter of intent encouraged, but not required. Always good. Jamie, is entrepreneurship training encouraged under these programs?
I think entrepreneurship training could definitely fit into the broad, range of biomedical research careers that apply to the ADRD research field. So absolutely.
Okay, great. Would you say there are any published guidance or sort of best practices around evaluation metrics for faculty-student interaction, success of a program that you would direct anyone to review?
I would say take a look at some of the prep programs that have been funded by the NIGMS. So those are post-baccalaureate programs for general biomedical sciences. So that might be a great place to start. And then for the summer research activities, we have the SREAP programs, the summer research experiences. I don't remember what the final EP stands for, but those have been NIH funded, again, general medical sciences programs funded by several different NIH institutes and centers. And so all of those have also had evaluation plan requirements and have produced those types of documents.
If I may add to this question briefly, there's also the NIH SEPA program, that's SEPA, which is specifically focused on the K-12 space. And they have an excellent website where they share evaluation materials specifically focused on the K-12 space.
Great. Thank you. All right, Maria, I'll stick with you. How should the postbacks be appointed, as students or employees? Are there stipends recommended? Should they be listed as a 100% FTE?
Those details are provided in the notice of funding opportunity. They should definitely be considered employees, and they should be appointed at 75% effort to research plus 25% effort to professional development, as indicated previously.
Great. Can we include stipends for the participating students?
Certainly, absolutely. This opportunity seeks to provide paid research opportunities. So a circumstance where there wouldn't be payment for the participants would be considered non-responsive to this funding opportunity.
I think we have hit our initial slate of questions. There are a few more here that are more specific, including where we can find more information about those post-bac programs that have been funded. I think that's also something that we could send out as a further communication after this event in terms of some examples. The SEPA program is another one that we could curate a quick list of those links for. All right. Are there any sample applications for R25s?
Not that I know of off the top of my head. We can certainly take a look at samples that are available from NIH, but I'm not sure that there are R25 samples available. The 25-page program plan section for an R25 is somewhat similar to that of a T32, though these programs are a bit different from a T32, so that would be one place to start.
And as a reminder, this is the first time that there is a post-baccalaureate opportunity available at NIA. So you are welcome to look NIH-wide for other programs that they may have been successful in order to model your program towards that, but still following with the guidelines provided here, the focus on AD, ADRD, and all others. Thank you.
Maria, would you help us clarify what's considered non-responsive in terms of these programs? AD and ADRD focus is certainly one of them. So that would be a requirement. You would be considered non-responsive if you do not have a program focused in that area. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Jamie, it'd be valuable to expose students to AD and ADRD patients. Would the funding be applicable for supporting clinical preceptors as part of the summer research experience, for example?
So I'm not super familiar with the role of a clinical preceptor, so I'm not clear on whether they're trying to include, clinical trainees as participants, or whether they're talking about bringing on, clinical workers in order to train your participants. I do think it would be useful to get clinical exposure for students. I think, once again, sort of like the question related to entrepreneurship, exposure to clinical-based research and clinical care of ADRD patients is certainly within the realm of biomedical research careers and training that your participants might be continuing on to. So I think that could absolutely be within the realm. And we do expect that different programs that come in are going to have kind of different focuses, right? So perhaps your program would have a stronger clinical focus, perhaps another one would have a stronger, bench research focus, or perhaps other programs would have a stronger, very wide-based focus of getting a large range of exposure to career options.
And while we are on that topic, we'd like to remind everybody that these opportunities will not support the development of independent or ancillary clinical trials. So please take that into account when crafting your application.
Great. Okay. So we had a quick clarification regarding the what's non-responsive in terms of stipends. So is there a sort of short way to summarize anything that would be non-responsive related to how stipends are allocated under the plan?
So please take a look at the details in the notice of funding opportunity. But as mentioned earlier, we expect you to pay your participants. In other words, it would not be acceptable to propose volunteer experiences for the students. We want you to pay them, and that's what part of the budget is should be really allocated for.
And we do expect that depending on what level your participants are at, that stipend might vary. So especially for those summer programs, the stipend that you would propose if you're designing a K-12 teacher program is going to be higher than if you're proposing a high school student program, right? So we do expect you to set that stipend level differently for different individuals. And we do understand that that will affect the number of participants that you're able to train within your program.
How do we know who will be our assigned official if we have more questions? That via email the training team and get connected to the right person and or persons? Sure.
So your first point of contact for administrative, policy, or any other general questions about these programs is the NIA training mailbox, which we recommended earlier. And then you are encouraged to develop a draft of your specific aims as soon as you can and send that in to us at NIA Training, and we will connect you with the program official from the appropriate NIA scientific division to give you feedback. And this will depend on whether your program is focused on AD aging biology, or AD neuroscience, or AD social and behavioral research, or AD clinical research. So if you as soon as you have a draft of your aims, you're encouraged to send it to us, and we can connect you to someone who can give you feedback on that specific scientific discipline.
All right. Jamie, taking a quick look back at clinical research, would shadowing of clinical research be allowed under these programs?
I think that would be totally reasonable. As Maria mentioned, you couldn't use the funding from the program to support a clinical trial, but certainly shadowing by your participants seems like a very reasonable professional development activity.
Great. And are travel expenses eligible for inclusion for participants?
Certainly, travel for key personnel, including participants, is contemplated within the budget and established in the notice of funding opportunity.
Yeah, and that could include both travel to the research site, as well as travel to conferences if you want to include conference participation and presentation as part of their professional development.
Great. Okay. Can we have both undergrads and K through 12 teachers in the same program?
Ideally, we would like you to focus on one of the target populations so that you can have a targeted approach and evaluation approach. So preferably not.
It would be to do that would require a very strong justification and rationale as to how you are going to be able to achieve the goals of the program by doing so.
Correct, and specific evaluation metrics for each of the target populations. So, and all within the constraints of the budget of the summer program. So focusing on one target population would be more advantageous.
Great. All right, how would you, Jamie, address the cost of living that affects how many trainees can be supported?
So we do want you to pay, a reasonable stipend to your participants that reflects both their career level and level of training, as well as the cost of living and the location of your program. So we do understand that different programs may be offering different stipends, and that, unfortunately, we are only able to offer one or at least one maximum budget size. So we do understand that some high cost of living areas may be proposing for a smaller number of trainees.
Okay.
In addition, it is expected that strong programs will be proposing also very strong institutional commitments that will potentially help defray some of these costs, potentially offer housing and many other strategies that may help address these costs.
Great. Yes, absolutely. I think the strongest applications would be those where they're expecting institutional dollars to be supporting the NIH dollars that would be coming in.
Great clarification. All right, well, I think we have gotten through all of our questions. So Maria, if you want to hop over to the last slide here, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this presentation and the discussion. Please fill out that short survey that we'll link in the chat to tell us what you thought and help us improve future events. If you want to be one of the first to hear about those future events and other training and career development opportunities from NIA, please visit the website that we'll link in the chat to sign up for our listserv. You'll get all of that information directly to your inbox. And if we weren't able to answer your question this afternoon, or you weren't comfortable asking it in this forum, please reach out to the NIA training team at niatraining@mail.nih.gov, and a staff member will get back to you with the best path forward. I want to thank everybody again for joining, and have a wonderful rest of your day.